All right. So good morning, everybody that is following us with Destination Dream Weddings on our little adventure to talking to all of the people that work with us or around us in the wedding industry. And today we are very, very, very lucky. We have Miss Kate, I'm sorry, Kate, tell me again.
Kuzemko.
Kuzemko, not as easy as it looks. Kate is with Malcolm Hotel in Canmore, Alberta. So she's going to be chatting with us today a little bit about what it is to be working in Canmore. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. How lucky is she? So welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit right off the bat just about your experience. Like, how did you end up where you are now?
For sure. So I grew up in Burlington, Ontario, so quite a long ways from the mountains here. And I got my first summer job at the Kananaskis Country Golf Course, so right in the heart of the Canadian Rockies. And I was going there during the summers when I was completing my degree at the University of Guelph for tourism and hospitality management.
Nice.
Obviously, being out in the mountains, I fell in love with them and did not want to go back to city life in Ontario. So I graduated with my degree and never really looked back. And obviously being at the golf course, you have your rate in hospitality. So I was doing banquets over there. So starting out as a server, then a banquet captain, then a banquet manager, just getting my feel for the industry itself. And then from there, I started working my way up, working at a couple 4-star properties and a 4-diamond property in Banff, specializing in weddings specifically there. So that was starting off as a sales coordinator, making my way into the industry. Was there for about a year or two, and then the Malcolm Hotel was being built. So I live right here in Canmore and thought, might as well get my foot in the door to an amazing property while I can. And here I am almost 2 years later. I started in October 2018. I don't only sell and plan weddings, I do all sorts of things. So conferences, trade shows, birthday parties, Christmas parties, you name it. I'm your planner here.
I love that. And I like how you built into it. So you see so many people that come into, I think, this hospitality, this event kind of world that have just kind of, it almost feels like we all just kind of danced our way into it. You know, we were at a party, talked to a person, ended up working with this hotel, learning about that, and it turns into a passion and a love. So
absolutely, yeah. If you would have asked me 10 years ago if this is where I'd be, probably not, but I wouldn't change it for anything. So it's great to be here.
And Canmore's lucky they got you from Burlington. I used to live in Burlington. It's a beautiful town too, so our city. So I know where you came from. So I think one of the biggest problems that I face as a destination wedding planner is people don't understand how it works to work with some of the hotels. The packages or the way that the marketing material comes out, sometimes it leaves you a little confused as to how many rooms and how much food and what food costs what and how do I make up these numbers. So I was just thinking maybe you could talk to us a little bit. I know that Malcolm, because we're working together on a wedding, which is wonderful. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we've postponed, but we're going to get there.
Yeah.
So I was working with you and we were talking about the minimums, you know, the food and beverage minimums and stuff. Can you explain just a little bit, maybe in really lay terms, how people can understand that?
Yeah, absolutely. I know most people contracting for a wedding at our hotel do not understand the legal jargon. They're not familiar with any of these policies. So I'm here to help guide everybody along the way. I mean, a wedding planner is great to have because they have a little bit of experience, but every venue is completely different. So
Right.
Basically, here at our hotel, we really only have 2 main rooms. We can host a wedding, and we can get into that a little bit later. But each room is, it has a rental fee and it has a food and beverage minimum spend. And that is decided pretty much on a company level on the sales team side to say, okay, what is the value of this room? How many people can we hold? What does that look like? So specifically here, during the contracting stage, our main room, our Edinburgh Castle room, has a $12,000 minimum spend. So when we go to contracting, I will explain that it's very hard to predict the number of people that will actually attend your wedding when you're contracting a year to 2 years out. So we allow for a little bit of a lenience here by 15%. So we call this attrition. So if we're basing it on a $12,000 minimum spend, you need to essentially, you're allowed to reduce that by 15%.
Okay.
without penalty. So you can reach out to me at any time and say, our RSVs aren't coming in as we hoped. We are now operating with only, let's say, 80 people that we want to attend as opposed to that. So I can reduce that 12,000 by 15%, which means you have to meet $10,200. In terms of food and beverage, that counts towards anything in the function room on the day of. So any beverages, whether it's a cash bar, host bar, toonie bar, any dinner wine on the table, that's any of your food. So your cocktail hors d'oeuvres, your late night snack, your dinner choice. All of these aspects, your cake cutting fee will go towards this minimum spend. And it's a work in progress. Obviously, during the menu planning stages, I can put together estimates and send to the couple and say, this is everything that you would like. This is where we're sitting at in terms of your food and beverage minimum spend. So if we're a little bit higher, they can either okay that and say that's what we want to elevate our day and our experience, or they can say that's a little bit out of our budget. Let's knock these things off before anything's written in stone, and then we can reduce and take those menu items off. If you're going to be a little bit below the minimum spend, I can put guidelines in place to say, maybe on the cash bar or the host bar, how much do your guests drink? Will this help cover it if we're slightly there? Things like that. So I hold your hand along the way. I understand it's something new for you, but yeah, we just have it in place to basically say, this is what this room is worth, and we'll help you get there.
Yeah, and it has been so beneficial with, especially again with COVID situation. I know I've reached out to you multiple times with the family, because our family that we have coming is coming from overseas as well as out of country. And so there is a good chance we're going to have to minimize those numbers maybe a little bit. And you've been so great at helping us to try to figure out what that may look like by the time we get there. We're still working on it, I know, but we're getting closer, I think.
So work in progress, but yeah, absolutely. Having the long lead time on planning weddings is definitely helpful. And some people wait till last minute, and some people want to know right from the get-go. So I'm here any step along the way.
Yeah, and that's great. So I'm just going to throw a quick one in here on you that I don't know that you and I have actually talked about. Would you recommend people booking, how far in advance would you recommend people booking for the Malcolm? Because it's a really desired location.
It is. This property sells itself, I will say. So in terms of weddings, we are able to book into the summer months. So that is going to be your July, August, and your September long weekend. We can book that with no restrictions. So I have couples inquiring right now for 2022. Our availability is still quite great.
Oh, good.
We're all pretty much in tentative status right now, but people are starting to inquire that far out. In terms of the other months of the year, so September through to end of June, we do have a 12-month booking policy for weddings, and that's simply because we don't just do weddings here. We also do corporate events, and your May, June, September, October are pretty high up for the conference season. So really, we operate usually booking between 12 months to 18 months out, I would say, just depending on the time of year.
Okay, and I figured that would be, those really desirable venues. I tell people all the time, even with destination, book early, because you can have what you want, or you can have almost what you want if you wait.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, our deposit schedule too is very flexible, but yes, you're paying a deposit when you sign the contract, and that could be, you're 18 months out, but your next deposit isn't due until 6 months prior.
Right.
So it does give a lot of time to save and to really figure out what you want. And I find that once people book the venue, it's easier to get excited about something and to, work towards this, as opposed to all of these ambiguous what ifs. What if we're here? What if we're there? So
absolutely. And that is the biggest problem, I guess, with destinations is, we don't have often the ability to answer all those questions right upon contract signing, right? So it's great to have somebody connect with in that regard. So, so what about you have the 2 spaces. Now you have the indoor weddings. Do you have any space? Because I know you guys have that beautiful outside space. I stood there and I went, do you use any of that space for events or weddings?
We do. So we have off of our main room is our Edinburgh ballroom. It has an 11-foot square foot Edinburgh patio, which we use for weddings that can accommodate up to 120 guests. So if it's more than 120, unfortunately, we only have the indoor option. And then obviously during COVID, we've had to get creative here and weddings are on the smaller side. So we do have an elopement space where it really only works for 30 people or less, but it is up on our rooftop and it is by our fire pit. So you have the panoramic views of the Three Sisters and the Lawrence Grassy Mountain Range. And then your dinner would essentially be held in our Sterling restaurant as opposed to a function space. So between the two venues, we really could host 2 weddings per day. And then the inside Edinburgh Castle Room can accommodate up to about 250, 300 in terms of a ceremony itself. But for the dinner reception, the ballroom does max out at 280.
Wow. So you got lots of different options. And I have been in the restaurant as well. That's not a, a down step by any stretch of the imagination. It's still a very lovely experience.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it works for the people that aren't looking for that dance, but want that elevated food and beverage experience and, a small place where we can make it private for your guests. Whereas, the ballroom's going to give you that dance floor and the sound system and, your whole big wedding party, if you will.
Yeah. And I'm, again, being destination, because this is what we do. I have done destination for 150 people, but typically we see more around that 50-ish, 50, 60 seems to be kind of topping out. And now post-COVID, we're going to see what that's going to look like. Might be even a smaller, but it's nice to know though that Malcolm would be able to accommodate something just a little smaller too, if people don't want or can't have all those people and invited to their space. So
absolutely,
that's so great. How about vendors? Do you guys have your own vendors that you work with, preferred vendors, or do you have a vendors list, or how does that work for you guys?
So we don't have any vendors on site per se, but we do have a preferred vendors list. So we're a proud member of the Rocky Mountain Wedding Collective. So it brings together some of the best local professionals to give you the highest quality service and experience. So this is found right on our website, as well as I send off a PDF with every inquiry I get with this list, so that it gives people a chance to reach out at the early stages as well. Mm-hmm. But by no means do you have to use this preferred vendors list. There's so often people that come that they have a family friend that wants to marry them, or a photographer that they've just fallen in love with their work. Those people by all means can come on out. We do request that a Canmore business license is held by those vendors, just so that we can still support the Tourism Bureau, the economic development of Canmore and things like that. But a $75 one-day pass can be purchased from the town of Canmore, and most of our other vendors from Calgary or Edmonton, they seem to possess these because the mountains are where people want to come and get married, so they just buy year round, so it hasn't really been too much of an issue there.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's nice to have that support too with having somebody that you guys have worked with in the past or has that credibility, right? Because it's your face if you're recommending to others. And having been in business for a long while by myself, I know what that can do or cannot do for you depending on who you align with. So it's nice that you guys have an organization that you're working with. So here's the thing, since Destination Dream Weddings, we started actually in 2016 in Dominican Republic. So my plan was to grow up, move away from home, live on a paradise island and do weddings, because to me, I couldn't think of anything that would be better. Oh, and rescue dogs. Perfect world, right? Unfortunately, things changed. And at the time, I wasn't sure it was going to be for the better, but since then, we've actually managed to expand. We are now also in Thailand, Mexico, and now Canadian Rocky Mountains. So yeah, we've been having a great time. The thing that I find is really interesting is the difference in cost depending on location. So that's a really big something that I really like to stress to our clients is, if you're looking at Thailand, even your flights to get to Thailand from Canada, unless you're from Australia or New Zealand, even your flight is going to be a lot more, plus a lot more time in the air and all of those types of things. So what do you tell clients if they question the cost? Because I know that the Canadian Rocky Mountains are desirable, but they also come with a set price point, which I think actually is, it does just show how important the Rockies are for this kind of, destination weddings or any other event. So what would you say to people that go, well, it's maybe a little more than I'm thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we do get that all the time. It's the it's almost like, I want to say, buying a house. It's not just what you're getting, it's the location that you're getting. So
Right.
I mean, we're a brand new property. We're right in the heart of Spring Creek, which has beautiful creeks on either side. It's great to be, our location is 5 minutes to walk into town, so you kind of take that. Some couples get a little bit worried and they say, what am I supposed to do with my guests when I go off site for photos and things like that? Well, you know, if you have a larger gap here, we're 5 minutes into town, we're in Spring Creek, there's so much to explore here that you don't really need to worry about your guests being bored or anything like that. The Rocky Mountains are so highly sought after, but you know, we're on the entry level to Banff, so we don't have that park pass that people need to pay if they go into the park. But it also offers, for the people that are traveling, if they haven't been here, we're that close that if they want to explore on their own that weekend or the next day or something like that, it's all very, very accessible to them. And I'm finding that even a lot of the Calgary and the Edmonton market, their vendors are starting to waive travel fees just to be competitive in that market, so that, you know, they can still do as many weddings as the Canmore local vendors, because they know this is where people want to get married.
Yeah, it does. And you know, I think things that I add on to that for people that are looking into the Canadian Rocky Mountains is, I mean, it is Canada. So, you know, sometimes when you are traveling, you're putting yourself in situations where, you know, you may not speak the language. We've got such a diverse culture here that I'm sure we're going to be able to find someone that can speak your language for sure. On top of that, I mean, you're safe. It's a very safe place to come. Don't play with the bears. Never feed the bears. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah.
But it is safe. I mean, it's got a set standard that comes with it. So I think that that's what makes it desirable as well to people, is that they can come to Canada. They know we're friendly Canadians. We're going to say sorry the minute we see them, that, you know, that we didn't say sorry fast enough, probably.
Yeah.
And you will be safe and well taken care of here.
Absolutely.
So what's changed for you guys with COVID? Like, what hasn't changed? Is it a shorter list?
So yeah, I guess a lot of things have changed. We did shut down our doors, so as a lot of the businesses here, but we reopened on May 14th with different operating procedures.
I'm going to interrupt you. You guys did such an amazing thing with your soup.
We did, yes. Our owner, Mr. Frank Kernick, he just didn't want to really shut down and say, you know what, we need to still be there for our community. So we did have all of our management staff stay on. We were in the building, a little bit crazy to be the only one walking around this massive hotel. But they provided soup. We were doing, I think, about 30 to 50 liters a day. Giving it out to the community. So upon donation, you didn't need to donate. If you were in need, by all means, take it. But we also had people delivering to those who were quarantined and things like that. So our chef was baking fresh loaves of bread every day and giving out liters of soup, but it was very well received. And we actually still have people show up from the community saying, can I get a bowl of soup today? So it kept us all a little sane during COVID, I will say.
But it really, really was such a beautiful thing, because being that I work in so many different locations and areas, I'll be honest with you, I think Malcolm was the only one I saw doing anything, and that's global. So anyways, I'm sorry, what else has changed for you? I just had to comment on that because I thought it was such a wonderful thing.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, so we reopened our doors on May 14th. It was a very slow start. Obviously, we still had the nervousness to travel. A lot of places in the Bow Valley weren't opening until June, things like that. So we retrained all of our staff and we partnered with Ecolab. So just to get, you know, more rigorous cleaning procedures in place. And then our company, Cleek, obviously put together operating procedures for all of us. We have sister properties in town, so there's 5 of us, and we had a Cleek clean procedure to follow. So it went from everything to, you know, we wouldn't have housekeeping go into our guest rooms more than 24 hours after someone vacated the room. Just, you know, and we didn't do any stay over service, so nobody on the guest side or our staff were feeling unsafe. If someone was in that guest room, we weren't going in there. We could obviously drop off more amenities and room service to the room, but we weren't actually entering that space.
Nice.
We have signage all over the hotel on proper hand washing procedures, how to, be social distance, go to the doctor in town, where to find that if you feel sick, things like that. In terms of banquets specifically, it's been a little bit difficult, obviously. So
Mhm.
the government obviously has a 50-person limit right now. So that includes our staff as well as any vendors. So
Right.
the weddings that we've been hosting or any event has been limited to 45 guests and vendors so that we can have 5 Malcolm staff members present to actually service the event and make it go off successfully. We are not able to put more than 6 people per table, so we've had to be very flexible on our floor plans. Often we're giving larger spaces such as the castle room versus the Holyrood room to accommodate and allow for more space between guests. We're not currently operating with any buffets. We're just doing plated options. And then really it's just been trying to get people in the doors and make them feel comfortable. I mean, a lot of the people with the Canmore mask bylaw, they're asking, do I need to wear a mask the entire time I'm in the function space? No, once you rent it out privately, it does not pertain to you specifically. So yes, you need to wear a mask in any public space, going to the bathroom, entering the lobby, the elevators, but once you're in the space, you all know one another, and we've social distanced you and seat you with cohorts and things like that so that people do feel safe. I've had some people do assigned seating for the ceremony aspect as well, so they can make sure families are sitting with families.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit more on the planning side to make sure that the people sitting at those 6 people per table feel comfortable with one another. If not, maybe we need more space and we need an extra table so that you're only sitting with certain people. And there's people with varying comfort levels that I've come to find. So we're just navigating our way through that and dealing with everything on a one case by case basis.
Yeah. And I think that that's the other thing that I really want to stress when I talk to new couples is we're all living this with them. Like none of us, even as old as I am, have lived through this before. So, your planners, your venues, your vendors, everybody is learning as we go, and every day looks a little different than the last day perhaps, which sometimes kind of gets to you, but really we're all just trying to make sure everybody's the safest, and they need to be patient and really understanding that you guys are doing this for them, right?
For sure. And I mean, it's been a lot on the contracting side, I find, or reaching out to those couples, similar to what we went through. I mean, we've had to update our force majeure clause so that people feel that they were covered. I found that nobody knew what this clause even meant, and it was so vague of a statement. And that's been years. All my experience in sales in the past, I just got a very vague response whenever I was like, what does this really mean?
Yeah.
And COVID was the first time we actually had to say, you know what, this needs to be written, and people want clarity if they're going to feel comfortable moving forward and, signing and paying a deposit for a venue. So I find that we've been extremely flexible. We're giving people 3 options, and again, taking it on a case by case basis. So, do you want to postpone and move all deposits so no money's lost at a time when you feel your guests and you can travel and feel safe? That's something we can look at recontracting. We can move forward on the same date with those guidelines in place. So if you're able to reduce that guest list and you just want to get married on that day, love's not canceled, we can make that happen. We just need to do it on a smaller scale.
Right.
And then some people just want to go to City Hall and get that marriage license signed and do it for love. So we've been able to cancel some as well with a very, very small fee that's kept with us. And so the couples are getting their money back, and we're able to host them, whether that's for their honeymoon or just for a night to get away once they feel safe. So we're allowing all of that just so people feel safe during this time.
Yeah, and not taken advantage of. Yeah, I've talked a lot with so many different, I've been so fortunate. We have been so fortunate because we've worked with, I always say we get the best of the best. We get the most beautiful couples and we get the best vendors and venues. It's just the rule. We stand under a lucky star. But I mean, having that ability with you guys to be able to change the deposit to a date that's going to suit our customers in a much better situation, right? Like that was so good. And I've talked to so many people on different boards in wedding industry where people are taking, keeping deposits and things like that. And it's hard. I mean, we all have to make a living, but this is happening to our clients just like it's happening to us without our control. So, okay. Last one here. So what do you love about this industry, or do you absolutely hate it and you're moving on?
I don't think I would be here every day if I didn't love it. I'm passionate about people, connecting with all the different clients and learning what's going to make their event special is something I thrive on. We are very busy being at a new property, so I'm constantly on my feet. You know, I have the best of both worlds. I have an office job, but I get to walk around and meet with clients and go to menu tastings, and every event is completely different and every day is completely different. So I find that the variety of couples, clients, and events, they test me every day, but again, it's something I thrive on. I don't think I could do a boring job. It's just not in my blood. So
I completely can relate. It's people say to me all the time, why would you want to be a wedding planner? Like, isn't it just fraught full of crazy stuff? And I love it. To me, it's problem solving. There's always a solution. Sometimes it's not exactly what the client wants or what you want, but there's always a solution. And I think that you just work towards finding that and making the best day for the clients. And I mean, that's what you guys are doing there. So we are so excited to finally come. I'm going to make sure I share this with the clients as well. And I will send you a copy as well if you'd like to. You guys can use it as well. And I thank you so much, Kate. And it was so nice to see your smiling face.
You as well. We'll be in touch soon, Wendy. Thanks again.
You take care. Have a great day. Stay safe.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.